Nutrition Chapter 5, this is the lipids, Martha Olson. Lipids in the body are in the form of lipoproteins that carry those lipids around. This is a chylomicron. It's kind of a large fatty lipoprotein that delivers the fats from where they're eaten in the intestines or absorbed in the intestines out to the liver and cells that need them. We know that lipoprotein or lipase is an enzyme located on those capillary walls. They attack this big blue chylomicron and remove the triglycerides, breaking it down into those fatty acids and glycerol. The lipids in the body, the L stands for lousy. Very low density is the bad stuff for you, and the HDL or the high density is the good stuff for you. It takes the cholesterol, picks it up, and gets it moving and out of the way. The HDL then protects against atherosclerosis. It has a higher protein content than the other types of lipoproteins. And as I said, the HDL picks up the cholesterol to decrease the accumulation that causes arterial plaques. It was explained to me once, it's kind of like the spatula cleaning the inside of the brownie bowl, cleaning out the inside of the arteries from the fat that's built up to help recycle and get rid of it. The lipids in the diet, then, it's recommended that we consume at least 2 servings of oily fish every week, with the exception of pregnant women and children, because they worry about the amount of mercury that is in fish that would not be tolerated by pregnant women and children. We know then we have to balance out our calories from fats and carbs. As we look at the lipids in the diet, we know that about 20 to 30% of the diet of an adult, depending on their health status, the amount of activity and exercise they get, should come from the fats. About 2% of the calories is the essential fatty acids, and as we improve the balance of that, eating more oily fish, nuts, seeds, flax seeds, we can improve the amount of omega-3 and omega-6 fatty acids in the diet. Lipids in the diet, as I said, our current fat intake should be about 30% of our calories or less. 45% should come from carbohydrates, and only about 12% should be from the protein family. As we look at some of the fat replacers, we know that olein has been one of the fat replacers in the diet. The other name is olestra for that, and it's a digestive enzyme that is unable to break down this for the digestion, so that you can eat fat in the diet. It kind of holds it hostage through the intestines, and it's eliminated at the end of the digestive tract. The problem with some of the olestra products is that they cause a lot of bloating and very unpleasant side effects of flatulence and digestion problems. When we think about lipids, many times people relate fats with obesity, and we know that high fat diets do promote weight gain because fats have 9 calories per gram. Heart disease is the other one linked very closely with our lipids, because we know a high saturated and high trans fat diet will increase that LDL or lousy cholesterol in the body. Cancer, we know rates are higher in countries that have a high fat intake, and that's been proven with the change in some of the diets in Japan and China, where they are adding in more meat and fats to the diet, and their rates of colon cancer are increasing almost to the level of where we are here with a Western diet. When we look at moderation and balance, we know that we have to find foods that are very low in fat, but we know fats give us vitamin A, D, E, and K, are fat-soluble vitamins. We also know that the fats have some properties of making hormones and sterols, as we talked about in part 1. Reducing the intake of our saturated fat and trans fat then appears to be important as we modify our total fat intake. So still get the good fats, but just take out the saturated fat. Going from cooking and making pies with lard to maybe a light margarine or a different type of fat in that product is always helpful. The American Dietetic Association is recommending the omega-3 fatty acids in the fish, particularly the fatty fish, 2 times a week. It's a source of protein in the diet that doesn't have the amount of saturated fat that causes the health problems we're trying to avoid. The functions of a triglyceride then, as you can see, They're listed around here. Triglycerides are a source of energy. Years ago, when families during the Depression were hungry and they were trying to keep weight on their children, they would sit down with meat and they would eat that layer of marbling or fat around the outside of a steak because it is a source of energy. I know on the farm, I cut that off and feed it to the dogs and cats outside because they need the cholesterol, they need the fat in their diet, especially in the winter. It's a form of calorie reserve. When you have triglycerides, you've got some adipose tissue, and when you need a little energy, it's there for you. When we get to the lifespan section, we're going to be talking about women that are pregnant. They put on 10 pounds of adipose tissue. That is the body's way of having that calorie reserve ready for that labor and delivery time when she may not have enough calories to support the birthing process. Insulation and protection. We know it's for micronutrients. Sensory qualities, meat and foods taste good when they have some of the lipids in them. And then the satiety value, or the feeling full after you eat a meal with a little bit of the fats in it, helps prolong how long you feel full. I know if I eat a piece of fruit for dinner, about an hour or two later I'm hungry already. Whereas if you eat something with a little bit of the lipids in it, you'll feel full a lot longer. And that can be an important quality. That's why a lot of our old-time farmers had very large breakfast of bacon and eggs and some of those types of things, because it held them through until they could come in again to eat their meal. So looking for a healthy balance, we know we have to look at our cholesterol levels. We have to look at that appropriate balance of fats, carbs, and proteins in the diet to maintain all of the homeostasis for the body. Fat is storage. It's an evolution. When we go and we look at the unit where we look at diets, people that go on a crash diet, their body, the metabolism slows down and the body wants to store every bit of calories it has for that time of starvation. And fat was a way during evolution that rather than using that quick energy of glycogen or glucose, it was stored as a source of energy for later on when it was needed during a fast. And so, animals that hibernate would be one example of that. A gram of fat stored more than 6 times as much energy as that same gram of glycogen. As a micronutrient center, then we know fat holds more than just energy. We know 6 pounds of glycogen stores that. Here's our vitamin A, D, E, and K. And as we look at those micronutrients, we know vitamin A is very important for vision and preventing night blindness. Vitamin D is that bone and helps with the calcium. Vitamin E is for healthy skin and also cell membrane to be intact. And vitamin K is your blood clotting vitamin that we've been learning about in this class. For recommended fat intake, they recommend, again, 20 to 35% of our total calories from unsaturated, and the saturated fat should only be a small portion of that, 10% or less. As we look at the fat replacers, we know the Academy of Nutrition and Dietetics says that the majority of fat replacers, when in moderation, like everything else, can be safe, but you have to be very careful that you're not only consuming that type of food product. In the Women's Health Initiative, they went out to look to see about fat and the increase of fruits and vegetables and grains in relationship to cardiovascular disease. And what they found is that in moderation, all things are good. The NCEP tips for healthy eating out is to control your size. There was a movie out a few years ago called Super Size Me, and it really benefited or showed us the benefits of not eating fast food, high-fat foods on a regular basis because of all the effects it has on the body. We eat out in America, and so we need to think about what are things we can do when we eat out to make it a healthier option. I know Subway has become very popular as a result of people looking for maybe the fresh fruits and vegetables on a sandwich. Subway also tells you how many grams of fat their sandwiches contain. You can get it grilled versus having something fried. Having yogurt instead of fries might be a better option if you were going to McDonald's or something like that. And as we look at diet and cancer, we know, as I said, that there are some cancer rates in countries that have the Western diet, and those cancer rates are higher because of the higher fat intake, whereas countries where they don't eat as much fat or animal product in their diet tend to have a lower rate of cancer. So this ends Chapter 5, Part 2 for our Unit 7 on lipids. Thank you.